Hey everybody, Nerd Transformed here again, and today I'm reviewing, just in camera, okay. Today I'm reviewing the Transformers Age of Extinction Voyager class Slog. And yeah, Slog's a pretty fitting name for this figure. So let's get into it. This is basically the Age of Extinction or Bayformer version of Sludge, who was a Bronchiosaurus, I believe? That might be the right term for the dinosaur, I don't know, I'm not very good with dinosaur names. But you can see here he's kind of following G1 color scheme, kind of not, with this kind of gray / silver stack and some red and then some black highlights here and there. So it's an interesting little color scheme. He looks like a pretty cool little Bronchiosaurus. We'll get to what's wrong with him later. Except that he's got these little Frankenstein struts just sticking out of his neck. I mean, yeah, sticking around the base of his neck, so yeah. He's a Frankenstein Bronchosaurus. And yeah, look at the underside of the neck and look at all that hollow. All of the hollow. But he is a good size. For comparison, here he is next to Voyager class Blitzwing. As you can see, you know, he'd be a good pet for Blitzwing. He's like a Great Dane. He's like a, was it Great Dane? Right next to Blitzwing. I go with Dog's Eider. And, you know, for another comparison, here he is next to Legends class Cloudraker from Titan's Return. So, he's a really big dinosaur. Speaking of which, you know, if you actually did get like a Legend size, like Optimus or maybe like a Bumblebee or something, it actually would make a pretty decent ride to, you know, ride into battle. There we go. Actually, now it kind of makes me think of Wheelie from the anime movie. If only that only Age of Extinction was good as the animated movie. But we'll look at the details, and it's got some pretty nice details. It does manage to hide the ports down here a bit better by making them look like some kind of armor detail. It's got all these little struts and spikes sticking out, giving him a very fierce look. He has a very, very tiny tail. I don't know about you, but Bronchiosauruses, I believe, are supposed to have tails as long as their necks, if not even longer. And granted, I will admit he has a very short neck for a Bronchiosaurus, but this is a really, really stubby tail. I mean, if you count where the neck starts, probably about here. And the tail's only about like this. I mean, yeah, it's not hugely shorter, but it's like only about half or two, or even less, or about 3/5 of what the actual neck is. This tail needed to be about here. I mean, you know, I get it would make it a lot harder to transform, but it looks really odd otherwise. He also has these really stubby legs compared to his other legs. I mean, granted, if you look at where the hip goes, it looks like they're actually long, but the actual leg is only this little thing down here. So comes off very odd. He has these little like red spikes sticking backwards. They kind of look like guns. He has these big red pieces just sticking out the back of his legs. That's for transformation. One of the really cool parts is his front feet look really nice. He's got this really nice armored look to him. He's actually got two little Autobot sigils on them, which is like the only place Autobot sigils appear on this figure actually, which kind of odd. Just, I know Dinobots weren't huge, technically Autobots, but I don't know, it feels odd, especially since this isn't one from the movie. But I do like that, and they actually have the toes painted on him, and it looks very nice. It gives him a very big, powerful look. Then you got the stubby little feet back there, which have like the same detail, but none of the paint. But the head is nicely painted, though. It is done up in black with some silver highlights, and then blue for the eyes, and it gives him a very fierce look. As for articulation-wise, he does have a decent amount. The head is on the hinge. The mouth can open using that hinge, very wide. So you get like a hyper beam attack going. He does have a swivel right here on Mushroom Peg, and then he also has a hinge down here. It makes it look his neck a little broken, but you know, it is usable. The front legs are his arms for later, and you can kind of start seeing some of the issues we have here, but we'll get to in a moment. They are on universal movement, but they can only go this far inward and this far outward. But they can rotate 360 if they don't get stuck on his little strut pieces here. He does have a rotation, and then a knee hinge that goes that far because these are his elbows. No toe movement. He does technically have a swivel, I guess, which kind of works. It just looks like he's about to fall over, but you know, you could technically swivel it all in here. Back legs, the only thing they can do is bend. All this articulation is hampered because all this stuff that's up here is all kibble hanging on this piece, so yeah, that's all the back legs can do, and the tail can't do anything other than split in half and have the rubber piece fall out of place. So let's get to his figure's issues. I know I'm kind of rushing this a little bit, but there is a lot of issues. This is honestly one of the worst figures in the Age of Extinction line because of that. There's a lot of bad figures in that line. For one, he doesn't hold together very well. You can see right now he looks alright. Shake him a little bit, and there went his torso. This piece right here, for whatever reason, it does collapse in, but there's nothing pegging these two halves together. There's the top half of the robot, here's the bottom half of the robot. They don't peg together anywhere. They sit together pretty nicely, and that's fine, but it doesn't actually hold together, unfortunately. Second major problem is there's a lot of rubber in here for whatever reason. I guess to kind of save on the spiky bits. I do understand for these big old spikes sticking out, you don't want that poking a child's eye out, but then you have these spikes right here being plastic just fine. And then for whatever reason, this is rubber, this whole front here. I'm kind of lucky with mine. Mine actually sits in place alright. Mostly, you know, it kind of comes really flat and so it looks kind of weird. But for the most part, mine sticks in alright. I've seen plenty of people's who's like this, just stuck like that. And to be honest, mine was kind of like that first too. I've just kind of forced it into place over the years. And even then, this piece down here probably should round in more, but it doesn't. It just kind of sticks down. It makes for a cool chest plate, but it looks weird. And then this piece right here is rubber right in the middle of the tail, this middle section, and it does not fit at all into the plastic. It just, no matter how you put it in there, it's going to look a little odd. And plus, the figure just does not look solid. I mean, you can kind of tell these are different sections just kind of jammed together. However, he does have weapons. First off, he does have these small little pieces, these little, I'm not sure what you want to call these, maybe tonfas. These are kind of like little guns. I kind of prefer them as guns. And you're supposed to peg them in right here. You can have them overhead or under. I prefer under, so they hang down a little bit more. And you can kind of pretend those are little cannons hanging off his legs, which look alright. You can also stick them up to give him more of a spiked look if you want, which looks alright too. Then you have these big things, which are lances for his robot mode, but of course we gotta give him something to do in Dino mode, so they have this little strut hanging off with a peg on it. And you can just directly peg them on like this, using the handle. But if you want a little bit more out of them, you're gonna want to use this little strut thing. Come back here, slide through. And this is the reason why he has giant Frankenstein pegs sticking out of his neck, to add his little lances on. And to be fair, they do give him a very intimidating look. It looks like he's with all the weapons on, he does make him look like he's a very heavily armed Bronchiosaurus. Brings back memories of Titanus from the original Power Rangers season, so to be fair, it does make him look very powerful, but it also looks to make him kind of ridiculous. I don't know why, but the giant cannons sticking off of Titanus looked a lot better. Maybe because they were a lot more like actually in, like, if these could actually be level with him or something like that. But no, they just start sticking down if you do that, which looks alright. Makes him look like he's about to shoot down something much smaller than him. You know, if you got like Cloudraker back in here and have him look like he's about to, you know, just blast him into next week. But other than that, there's not much else you can do with them. And I mean, you could have them come forward as like beating sticks of doom, extra limbs or something, and you could make them look like their arms and. But yeah, it just gets a little ridiculous. And again, when you don't have the weapons in place, like with the weapons, it still looks a little weird. But without them, you're once again stuck with just big old struts sticking out of his neck. At least here, these are pre-disguised pretty well, and they don't stick out too bad. These though, yeah, those they don't even look like dino bits. They're literally just struts that have been hauled out. That's the worst part too. They're all hauled out, so they just look nasty no matter what. So yeah, that's all the problems in Dino modes. Now let's get to all the problems with his transformation. Oh goodness, the transformation is the absolute worst part about this figure. This is honestly one of the worst figures I've ever owned. Maybe not still quite as bad as Armada Sideswipe, but in some ways Armada Sideswipe is more fun to mess around with at least, because at least this transformation is just stupidly simple. This is stupidly overcomplicated. So it may not mix master level, but still. Go ahead and start by splitting it. And yeah, his whole transformation is being held together by this. I don't know whose idea it was to make a transformation rely entirely on a belt buckle, basically. Then you're going to bring out the strut that they didn't want to hold together anyway. So you're just going to have the front half flopping around back there. Then you're going to want to just bring this down. There's a hinge buried in here on both sides in here that these pieces come down on. Once you get that going, go ahead and split the tail. Probably have already split anyway. Start using the hips to bring it outward. You're going to want to rotate them. Bring them down. Rotate again. Oh, yeah, this little rubber bit likes to get away a lot. I repeat the rotate part and then bring it on down to where you have the tail halves basically just sticking out back that way. You're going to want the rubber part facing forward now. And then we get to the mess that most of the transformation is just these legs. You're going to want to go ahead and take these and rotate them as well to where you have the little red spike pointing forward. Yeah, there's a lot of just random rotating. And the hardest part about this transformation is this is the little red spike that you're going to just stick into your finger if you're trying to get it out. And it's very tight. One of the few times they actually have tight knee joints, and it's on a part that you really don't want tight knee joints. So I find it easiest to take something small, get in there, bring this piece out, up and out of the way. Then you're going to come inside here, rotate this black piece down to form his foot, bring this on up, collapse it in, and now actually peg into his leg like that. You're going to take this piece, flip it in a little bit on the hinge, so that way the struts can peg into his leg right here. And there you have one leg done, and the struts don't stay together because they have rubber, because half of it's rubber. Oh yeah, all this right here is rubber too. All this side part right here. So yeah, genius. Having rubber hold a transformation together. Now we're going to do the same mess with this side. Rotate it around, bring it on down. Use something to get that out, because that way you don't stab your own finger. End up stabbing your finger anyway, trying to pull it up. Bring this outward. Oh wait, don't forget to rotate the foot down, otherwise it gets in the way. Bring this in, bring the shell down. Tab the shell in. Then take this piece, bring it in. Use the hinge to collapse it in. Ooh. Alright, almost done. Bring the tail halves back around and bring them in to kind of make a little waist piece. And work through the hardest part of transformation because the top half is much, much simpler. All you gotta do for the top half is get the head out of the way, take that rubber flap you had earlier and just bring it up as much as you can. Then you're gonna push, oh wait, before you do that actually, come to the bottom here and split these panels right here that the arms are sitting on. As much as you can. You don't really want to split it up here, you're just going to split the hinges like that. Then come to here and bring this whole piece out. This plastic piece should come with the whole neck assembly. And with that, you should be able to collapse these pieces in to form the chest. And now give this side enough room to flip all that down. Take the dino head, just flip it up like that. Then you're going to take these little pieces that the panels that the arms are sitting on and you're just going to collapse them in like so. Use the double hinge and just kind of accordion it together. And it should tab together right there. Finally, rotate the arms this way to where the dino feet are pointing out sideways. Press the heel piece of the dino in to bring out his hands. Then you're going to take the toes, and they should slide out like that, as well as the arms should pop out to kind of give them more bulk. Like so, and like so. And there we finally have Slog in his robot mode. Alright, so now that we have him in his robot mode, yeah, Slog is a perfect name for this figure because that transformation is just horrendous. Way overcomplicated and way too much going on. Way too many half steps where you have to stop, turn something around, move it back, turn it this way. Just way too much. But let's go ahead and start with size comparisons. Once again, Titan's Return to Blitzwing, you see he's a little bit shorter than a current Titan's Return Voyager. I think he's actually a little bit shorter than the Voyager Grimlock too. And Cloudraker, so he's still much, much larger than a Legends. Although he is quite a bit more bulked out, I guess. So I guess his height's met for in his size. And to give this figure some credit, he does look really, really good in his robot mode. Looks good. We'll get to those problems in this mode as well. Yeah, this problem... Now, granted, this is the least flawed out of the three things. Between the transformation, the dial mode, and the robot mode. The robot mode is definitely the best part about this figure. But even it still has some issues. But looking at it, it really reminds me of like something on Monster Hunter. Where whenever you defeat a certain monster enough times, you actually got an armor that looked really cool based on that monster. And that kind of what I got the impression from here. I mean, you guys see the tail wrapped around as his waist piece. You got the scaled look all along his legs, the spikes sticking out the back. The arms that have bracers made from dino legs. Even the head has this like spiked look as if he took some of the spikes and tore them off. You know, if I kind of wish the helmet looked more like the dino head, but you know, this definitely looks very much like something out of Monster Hunter, like with an armor made out of a giant dinosaur. It looks very cool. Looking at details, I do like the head sculpt. It's going with that whole knight aesthetic again with the mouth plate and the visor. And I do like the nice blue they use. It's the same blue they use for the eyes for Dino mode, so it kind of transfers here. Nice little silver mouth plate. I wish they did some dabs of black around the head to kind of break it up a little bit, because the gray is... This much gray plastic does look not as good. At least they use a really shiny version of the gray plastic, so it does look a lot nicer, like shiny armor. But still, it is a little odd. Oh yeah, these little shoulder pieces can flip out where it can have more of an armored, like a samurai stick thing going on. But yeah, as I mentioned, I do like how he has like braces made from his dino, or gauntlets made from his dino feet. You know, he's got very nice bulky legs as hard as they were to transform. He has like these like genie shoes. I don't know, they make me think of the genie from Aladdin with little points on them. But even those have like this little scale to stick going on. He has like little spots on his feet to make it where he doesn't slip, you know. Some neat little details in there. The main new detail here is the chest with the little reds in the head and with the little red spikes going on here, like little scales going up and then some going up the middle here. It does all look very cool, especially when you bring in his weapons. So as for these, he does have like the whole, you know, palm up thing going on, like arm curling elbows. But this kind of works in his favor with his sideways pegs on these. So you can actually attach them to his hands, either up or down. Well, it doesn't quite work as much down, but you can get them in there. And you can kind of pretend to use like big whacking sticks or even like tonfas. So that's pretty cool. So you can actually hold these, or even kind of hold it for like a gun if you wanted. But if you're going to go for the gun look, I prefer kind of doing like you did in Dino mode. And stick them off the little shoulder pylon pegs. Get them off. Like so. And I think that's the best look for those. If you do want a melee weapon though, I say use these. As you can fold that away. And now you can give them giant lances. Which at their huge humongous size, especially for a Voyager, does make them look very, very intimidating. Except for the fact that he has arm curler elbows. So when you try to curl his arm to kind of make him look like he's holding them up, they stick out to the side like that. I mean, you can still get some cool poses with them like that, but yeah, it does hinder the coolness factor quite a bit, the intimidation factor, because you really can't get a cool pose besides him just sticking them straight out like so. I mean, even that looks alright, but still. Yeah, it does hurt the aesthetic a little bit. But, you remember those dumb struts that he had before? He still has them. But because of those, you can take them, peg them in like so, and give him some over-the-shoulder cannons. Of course, this is all using that imagination thing, because, you know, but they do have like some detailings at the end of all these to kind of make it look like it can work as a gun. And when you do this, and pretend they're guns, yeah, he looks very, very dangerous. This is a very intimidating look for him. Heavily, heavily armed. This guy is a tank ready to blow someone up. Just like a Dino mode, but a lot more pleasing like this. This is honestly how I display him when I do have him on my shelf. It's just with all the guns, all these weapons used as cannons. And it does make for a very cool look. However, this back kibble. Now this piece being rubber does kind of help in his defense, that way he doesn't get in the way of articulation, doesn't cause this to break or crack or anything. And the kibble isn't particularly atrocious other than just the weird strut still sticking off. But his robot mode is still kind of limited in its articulation. The head is on a ball joint, it does swivel a little bit, but the little parts of his helmet stick off do get in the way quite a bit because it bangs against the hinge behind it. So you can only go about that far in either direction. It is ball jointed, so you can actually look up pretty nicely. Like, he can look nearly straight up. So that's actually pretty good. Shoulders are universal. You can do a full 360, but just like in Dino mode, they don't go out very far. You do get a swivel, and you do get a 90-degree elbow, but it's the arm curler elbow. And the hands are just on the hinge, and unfortunately the hands do get kind of buried in all this armor. And if you fold it all back into the Dino leg mode, it's still kind of half buried in there. So there's really not much you can do about that, or just kind of get a position you like and just leave it there. He does get waist articulation, which is really rare these days. You don't see that, especially in Voyagers, much anymore. There is hip articulation, but the tail pieces are going to come with it, so you do get full forward movement, but the tail piece is going bang everywhere. You do get that far back. You do get some decent outward movement, really nice outward movement. The tail doesn't get in the way of that, at least. You do get a leg swivel, almost just shy of 90 degrees at the hip. And you do actually get ankle articulation, as it can go in this far and can go back that far. So you can get him like in a big stepping pose, or like the I'm charging my laser, you know, that old meme kind of pose. Which again does give him a very intimidating look. But the thing is, he as much as he looks like a tank, he is able to move as about much as a tank does in most RPGs. If you know what I mean, most tanks, when you look at tank armor in a lot of RPGs and like World of Warcraft and such, they don't look like they can move much, and that's kind of his thing here. It kind of works with his stick, but it also means he doesn't have a lot of articulation. So overall, Slog in his robot mode is definitely the best of the modes out of everything, and it is a very nice looking mode. But that's the thing, he's very nice looking, and honestly, this is a figure that's not fun to play with at all. This is a figure where you put it in robot mode, set it up how you like, and then you put it on the shelf with your other Dinobots, and then you never touch them again. And again, not because the robot mode is particularly awful, it's just there's no point in doing anything else with them. The Dino mode, while not horrendous, is still very, very bad with it not holding together at all, and just looking very broken up, especially with all the rubber bits. The transformation is just awful. I barely ever transform this guy just because of how bad the transformation is. Even when I first got him, I only transformed him 2 or 3 times tops. When normally when I get a new transform, I transform him like 10 or 12 times at least. And the robot mode, while it does look nice, can't do anything other than just kind of stand there. He can hold his weapons if you can get them into his hands that are barely seeable, but he can't really pose with them. And that's kind of the hardest part about having melee weapons, is you need to pose with them. His leg articulation is decent, except for the hips getting hindered by the tail pieces. But he does have a waist swivel. Like, the articulation is okay. It's really decent, just really hindered, and doesn't work with what's given to him. Because the arm curler position, it is intimidating for a Dinobot to kind of like look like he's ready to start beating somebody up or something like that. But with his weapons, it doesn't quite work unless you just stick him in gun mode, in which case, why would he be punching somebody if he's long range? But yeah, if you're going to get this figure, just get him for robot mode. That's the only reason I have this figure is robot mode. I will say he is very cheap for a Voyager. I'm seeing him going for 10, 15 bucks on eBay lately. So he might be worth it to you for that price. I don't know. If you like him in robot mode, go for it. Just don't expect anything out of the transformation or the Dino mode, because they're just... Okay, transformation is awful, and Dino mode is only okay. So, this has been Age of Extinction Slog. This has been Nerd Transformed. I hope you enjoyed this review, and hope you have a good day. Take care.